maybe I need to be more, a little bit more. Beautiful. Okay, well, that's not me. So hello, whoever's there. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm just about to log in so I can follow the conversations as they come in. Hi Victor. How are you? I love the big pink hand. All right, let me find YouTube on this thing. And then, oh dear, where is the cursor? Here. All right. It's just a lot easier to follow. My daughter gave me the idea. If I have a laptop, it's just so much easier to follow the conversation there, especially when there's, oh, still sick. What have you got? Is it like a cough or you don't have COVID, do you? COVID takes a while to get rid of. That's a bit rough. Every time I've had it, I have it for like 3 to 4 weeks. Oh, and it really knocks me off my feet. So, oh, I hope it's not COVID. Anyway. But I thought so, because I haven't seen you so much in, oh no, okay, it's just running its course. It's all right. All right, I'm in. Hopefully I haven't missed too much because I'm too busy down here. Hang on, it's only 2 minutes into the conversation. Still sick. It's a cold, okay. Can I get rid of that, or how do I get rid of that? Oh. Is there a way to get rid of that? No, I'm stuck with it. Some kind of cold. Oh, okay, I got it. All right, so just waiting a bit as people come in. Oh dear. Well, at least we're here. Hey, at least we're here. We're together. Hopefully we'll. Oh no. Do you have it as well, Desiree? Has everybody at home got it? Oh, that doesn't sound like fun. I remember a few weeks ago when I had the cysts removed from my head. Throughout that week, at the beginning of the week, my daughter had developed this cough that she got from going away, you know, on camp with her year. And, oh my, no, thank God. Okay. So it's just you. You're the lucky one. You're the chosen one. I was the same at home. I was the only one that ended up getting her cough, but I think it was only her with strep, but the cold, we all have that. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. Oh, well. Hopefully you're on the other side of it. You guys are on the mend soon. And sometimes it's just the body demanding rest, you know, or even just your subconscious is asking you for a rest. And because we're always go, 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 we just don't make time for it. Today. You're the man. You're the man. You're the one that gets picked first. That's so funny. Dangerous missions. Yes. Well, someone has to do them, right? Someone has to take it on. Be brave enough. Oh dear, what can we do? And so, yes, I usually find for me when I'm down, it's because I've been so stressed for so long and the body just says, you know what? I'm done. If you're not going to take a rest, I'm going to take it for you and you'll have no choice but to be in bed for a week. That's it. It's had enough of waiting for us to give it rest. It just goes, you know what? I'm done. I've had enough. So, oh dear, everyone's sick. What can we do? Oh, not much fun. But on the plus side, like I said, you get rest. You have no choice. So nice. there's something good. See, we're meant to be here today together. Oh, very distracting, I can imagine. I just read in the paper today something about Trump and his what is it that he's doing now? But it affected our beef industry here in Australia. They went to the tariffs apparently. Yeah, the tariffs have gone up and they're not too happy here. So who knows? I don't get into politics. That's all, it's too messy for me. But yes, the one thing, the tariffs. Yeah, I got it. So, Desiree, the only thing I wanted to ask was if you got my email with the login details. What is he not doing? Exactly. He's just annoying everybody. So, Desiree, I just wanted to make sure that you got my email that had the login details for the forgiveness course. Because I know I asked you ages ago, before you guys were all sick. And I'm not sure if it's been a week or two now. I've lost track. There's just so much going on at the moment. And with, I had to have the procedure as well with my cysts and recovering from that. And there's been a lot going on. So, yeah, let me know if you haven't got the email with the login details because I can resend it. I've figured out how to do all of that now. I've become a master at login details. Yes. And even us over here in Australia. Minding our own business, and here we go. We got hit with this tariff. You know what the Aussies are like? They're really laid back, but put on the tariffs, and they all, they're all in riot. Hey, what's going on? Yes, wonderful. Because I haven't seen you in there. I get to see when the members are actually in there and how far they've got into the course. So I haven't seen either of you. Well, I haven't. Victor didn't say yes or no, so he didn't reply to the email, but I'm guessing it's because you haven't been well. But yeah, for the beta test, I was only going to ask for people to go in until the end of May, because then after that it's going to be fully up, for people to join the actual course. But I just wanted to check to see if there were any bugs first, anything I needed to fix. I've got a few people in there already. They've picked up a couple of things, but not major things. Although I'm not sure, because one of the people that's going through it, she seems to be having trouble downloading the PDFs. And I'm not sure if it's her computer or if it's a general thing, because the other lady that I have going through the course at the moment is fine with the PDFs, the downloads, the books, everything that's there for download. She doesn't have a problem with it. So I would have liked more people in there to see if it's just the one computer that's struggling with the downloads, with the PDF downloads and the handbook and the workbook, or if it's a general issue with people that they can't download the PDFs. That's pretty important because the handbook and the workbook are part of the course, they're pretty important that you can download at least those two big PDFs with all the information in them. The other ones, I'm not that fussed, but some people do like to follow along, as they're listening. They do like to read. For me, the more senses that are involved, the more energetically is sinking in. Oh, nice. Oh, good then. Perfect timing, as I say. Perfect divine timing. It's meant to be. Yes. Well, I didn't ask anything last Friday about the forgiveness course because you weren't well then. So I thought, well, I'm not going to be asking you to do things, if you're not feeling well. So I thought I'll just leave it. I know what it's like, when you got to do things and you just, especially if you're all congested and you can't think. But this is not for thinking. None of these courses are for you to think. We're actually trying to disengage the mind and re-engage the heart. So all the videos, all the courses are heart-centered. They're more about energetically receiving what you need and not so much about thinking. So you actually don't need your mind. The only reason you kind of use the mind is you listen to something, and it can be in any of these videos. It doesn't have to be just through the courses, but you listen to anything and it resonates as it goes through. You're listening to it and you feel, yes. Oh, okay. Well, look, with the COVID, that was supposed to be something super simple. My daughter, I think, coughed for 2 days and she was done with COVID. And my husband coughed for 2 or 3 days and he was done with COVID. And for me, it knocked me off my feet for 4 weeks. So, it's different bodies just react differently to different things. I couldn't believe it. I watched them with COVID and I thought, this isn't fair. Why do I have to be so affected? And I got these god-awful migraines through the first 2 weeks. I just found it so hard to cope with every time I've had COVID. I'm just like, I just don't want it anymore now. And even when I've had the vaccines that I had to have for work, because I work with the elderly throughout the day, that was compulsory for my work, I got the worst migraines for a week straight. It was like, it's just, for me, it's the most awful thing. Oh, I see. It's already left that weakened in your system. Oh, pneumonia, you poor sausage. Oh, dear. So, yeah, whenever you guys are ready, there's, like I say, well, we're only right at the beginning of April. You've got practically 2 months anyway to get through this beautiful course. And, see how it affects you energetically, if anything shifts for you as you go through it. I'm hoping yes, because for me, so much shifted. Now, I sound like a diesel. Oh my goodness. It'll get better. It'll get better. Oh, you just reminded me there's been a topic that I've been meaning to bring up in the videos and it keeps slipping. It keeps slipping. Oh my goodness, it was Raf. Oh, he does. Yeah, for me, I get knocked off my feet with COVID both times. And the second time, I got so sick, I ended up in hospital after 4 weeks. I just couldn't recover. It was just such a struggle. Yeah, anyway, that's just life. Like I said, I watch my husband and I watch my daughter and even my mother-in-law, who's 80, she got it and she's done. Right? She didn't even have a day of coughing and she was done with COVID. I'm like, what's going on? Why am I the one that has to be sick for 4 weeks and like on death's door? Like, please take me. I can't take this coughing and these migraines anymore. Oh my God. But yeah, we're all different. It wasn't bad. Yeah, you were lucky. You were lucky. Yeah, some people ended up, in hospital really, really sick with heart problems. I've heard so many stories of people with COVID. So I was actually glad mine was just cough and migraine and it didn't develop into anything worse, for me. So as much as I really found it unpleasant, it wasn't that bad, as I've heard other people have had it really rough with COVID. Oh, something had just come up and now it slipped me again. What was it that I wanted? Yes. Speaking of being sick. Okay. So I was listening to this story the other day. Pretty busy. That's like undressed. That's the understatement of the century. I don't sleep at night. My mind is in overdrive with like all the stuff that they're giving me to do. And I'm like, dude, I'm just human here. I'm not you guys that can do everything all at once, right? Just bear with me. Give me some time to get this done. I know. It's like they think I'm one of them. I am one of you, but I'm still human as well. They've got to remember I'm human as well. So yeah, it's been over a month. I hardly sleep at night. And there's been mornings. I wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm up on the computer because I'm like, okay, it's not letting me sleep. I might as well get up and do it, So if it's not the membership site that I've been working on, if it's not the courses that I just felt they needed to be out for people, because like I've said before, only one person. That's right. Sometimes we forget we're only one person to do all this. One. And there's only so many hours of the day, there's only so much I can do. It's all happening right now. Yeah, right. I'd like to see them come down, swap any day and give them a day in my shoes and see if they can cope with all the stuff they're giving me to do. But, Yes, so the thread, it came back. I heard this beautiful story, and it was attributed to Wayne Dyer, but I'm not going to go that way. I'm just going to pretend, okay, it's this healer, okay? There was this healer at an event. He was doing a live speaking event, talking to people. And in the intermission, I think is what it was called in the old days. I'm trying to think what they call it now, but there's a gap because you can't talk for hours and hours without having a rest, a break, and even for the audience, So I think this person spoke for an hour and then there was a gap. And then there was a person that came up to this beautiful healer and they asked the healer that apparently they had a really thick stutter and they had it from childhood. And to them, it was, it was awful that they had this stutter and they couldn't communicate. And so this beautiful healer, in that moment, the person came up and asked, "Can you heal my stuttering?" And the healer, in all their beautiful wisdom, said to this person, "Can you see yourself without the stutter? Can you imagine yourself in this moment? And you don't have the stutter." And the person said no. And so the healer said, "Well, I can't help you." And in the moment that I heard that story, it resonated so strongly with what I do. Because how many times do I tell people here, these beautiful beings, that only you can heal yourself. And if you cannot see it, it isn't possible. If you can't imagine yourself well, 100% well, if you can't imagine yourself healed, if you can't imagine yourself in whatever situation it is that you want to be in, how can it be so? Because our thoughts create our reality. So if you can't even imagine a day without that stutter, being completely healed from that, how can you create that into your reality? Because everything that we have up until this point in our lives, no matter how much we don't like it, because trust me, there's been a lot in my life that I think I don't like it. But when you look at it, you created it with your thoughts, with your words, with your energy, because this is what you were focusing on. Now, remember, many times we've also said that you came here to have a specific human experience. So all the things that you took on in childhood were there for you to have the human experience you've had, to gain this knowledge, to gain this wisdom. When you start to look at your experience as that, rather than victim and trauma and your humanness, for so long before I woke up, I would look at all that and I was the victim. And to me, it was traumatic what I'd been through. And it caused me suffering just to think about it. But the moment I woke up, when I had my first awakening and I began to look at what I'd been through, I realized that I went through all of that to gain the knowledge that I have today, to gain the wisdom, the information that I have, that I can now share with others. Because that was my calling. This is what I'm here for. Not everyone's here for the same. Some people may be here to have that experience and that's it. It's not here to serve others or to affect anyone but themselves. They're just here for that experience. Because at the end of the day, it's all spirit anyway. So the experience that we gain, the wisdom that we gain from that experience, spirit gains that as well through us. So sometimes we don't even need to affect anyone else. Just us having the experience is enough. Spirit already gains that information, that wisdom. But the beautiful wisdom that came through for me, what felt so true in my heart, was if you can't see it within yourself, if you can't imagine it, how can you create it into reality? How is it possible? It's this understanding that I think for me that unlocked when I watched The Secret the first time. That was the wisdom I got out of that. You know, that movie that came out, the book, The Secret, is that we create our reality through our thoughts, through our words. And so in that video, I think they were trying to teach us that if we focus on what it is that we want to create with our thoughts, with our words, with our feelings, if we can imagine it, we can bring it into reality. But what they didn't tell us is that we are here having a human experience. That is the purpose of the soul here on earth. It's having this beautiful human experience. And until we gain the knowledge, the wisdom, all the information, until we've extracted all of that from this human experience, is that we can't change into that, whatever we can imagine, because we haven't gained that yet, what we came for. It's like, say for example, okay, say your soul came here to earth and it yearned more than anything else in the world to know what it feels like to fall in love. That's all it wants in this lifetime. I want to go to earth and I want to know what it feels like to fall in love. And then in your childhood, you have all these negative experiences, if you like, with love. You're not shown love or affection by your parents or whatever it is that you chose to start your life with. And then you go into your adult years and you're terrified of falling in love or having a partner. And so you focus all your attention on doing other things, on your career, on whatever else. So you don't have to look at that. You don't want to look at that. It's too painful. I don't want that. It's too scary. And all the while, your soul is yelling at you, but I came here to fall in love. To fall in love so we can get on with it. That's all I want to know. I don't care about the other stuff. I don't care about you being famous or successful or your career taking off. That's not what I came for. And so your soul's there, come on, when are we going to fall in love? This is what we came for. You know, so only you can know in your heart what your path is, because as you listen to things, what resonates, and that's why I say this so much, what resonates belongs to you. If it feels true, then this is for your path. When I talk about spirit guides, if it doesn't resonate, like if I talk to my husband or my mother-in-law about spirit guides or angels, they roll their eyes at me. You know, it's like, they're, you know, talking about aliens or whatever else. They roll their eyes at me like, oh, here she goes again, you know, with that airy-fairy stuff that doesn't exist. To them, it doesn't exist. It doesn't resonate. Why? Because it's not part of their path. They didn't come here to do any of that. They came here to have their beautiful human experience fully, without any of that distraction, just here in this matrix. Ah, it left. Wait. I'm waiting for it to show up. What was it? Oh, it'll show up. Why is it not? Oh, here. Hang on. I just missed the bottom. Hang on. To never forget it. The things we remember are the things that are for our path. This is the other thing. Even no. I remember I wasn't praying, but at the moment I felt an expansion within. Yes, when you expand, it's because you're getting it. You're understanding the purpose of what it is you're doing here. For me to never forget it. The one thing, you know, there's been over the years, there's things that stick in my head. And one of them, I was in my early 20s, 25 maybe, when I read the Conversations with God books. And then I saw Neil Donald Walsh doing this talk. And I remember him saying there's only one of us in the room. You know, if you think you're separate from the person you're sitting next to, forget it. There's only one of us in the room. And he kept repeating that in his talk that day. And I remember at the time it just went straight over my head. I just, what? What's he talking about? There's only one in the room. I can see at least 20 people, you know. But it stuck in my head. And that was like over 30 years ago now. There's only one of us in the room because it's all spirit. Now I get it 30 years later. But if something is important to your path and you are meant to know that information, you're meant to awaken to it, it will stay with you. There's those little seeds that get planted in your head and you don't forget. Oh, yeah, no, love them. I've read pretty much all of them. I read the first 3. I think one of my favorites after Conversations 1, 2, and 3 was Home with God. That one just blew my mind. Again, I wasn't ready for that information yet. I hadn't had my awakening yet. So I read it again after I had my awakening, and I thought, oh, this is so beautiful. So beautiful, the information in there, you know. But you'll find, pay attention to what sticks in your head. Little things like that. There's only one of us in the room. And it was only a few months ago I had that conversation with my friend in New Zealand. I get it now. There's only one of us in the room. It's because it's all spirit, you know. And when the light bulb goes off, when it's the right time, when it's your time to know that information, it's like, oh, okay. That's why that stayed there. I didn't forget it. It was because, yes, all of them. Yeah, all 3. But definitely the first one. The first one was like, what? It's like quite mind-blowing, you know, when it's your first time reading them. So, yeah, they were magical books. And again, we were meant to have that information, and that's why we stumbled upon those books when we did. It's not an accident. We were meant to read them, you know. We had already decided that at that time in our lives, we were going to need that information. Even if we didn't quite get all of it yet, even if it didn't quite make sense and we still had more humanness to do, you know, being more human. Because since the Conversations with God, there was at least another 20 years of me being angry, of me being, you know, all the stuff I had to go through, all my unforgiveness with my parents, all of it. I still had all of that to get through because I needed all of that information to understand, you know. Just when you start to see the big picture of what it is that we go through and why we went through it, it's just incredible, you know. And even the other day I was talking about with the anger course. I was just remembering, I spent 7 years not talking to my parents when I came back to Australia. And I was between the ages of about 25 to about 32, those 7 years, 7 or 8 years now, I forget. But I remember there was many years I couldn't talk to them. They'd ring and I wouldn't pick up the phone. I was like, nah, don't want to talk to you. You've done enough. You know, it's enough damage. Just leave me alone. And then I was thinking about karma and how things, sometimes they don't come from this lifetime, it's from previous. But perhaps in this lifetime now, my parents aren't talking to me because I've already done that to them this lifetime. You know, I'd forgotten that I'd spent those 7 years angry and not wanting to talk to them. And now they're not talking to me. You know, so I know what that feels like. I understand. So, yeah, that was the first thing that was coming through for this week, for the live stream. If we can't see it, if we can't hold that vision within ourselves, whatever it is that we want to have or accomplish or whatever, one, perhaps is not meant for you for your path. So that's why you can't see yourself in that place. Or two, you're not ready for that yet. Like I was with there's only one in the room. I was like, huh? What does that mean? And why do I keep thinking, what does that mean? There's only one in the room. You know, why is there only one of us in the room when I can see so many people? What's he talking about? So just stay with it. You know, maybe make a journal, you know, get a notebook and write down these little things that stick in your head of, oh, you know, what is all this? What does it mean? Those questions that we ask ourselves. Write them down. One day you'll come back to them and go, ah, now I have the information. Because the beauty of it is that perhaps you still haven't had the human experience you needed to have for those questions to make sense yet. There's still more for you to experience, you know? So it's like baking a recipe, but you don't have all the ingredients yet. You know, you want to create this beautiful, let's say, cake. And you start off in life and they give you the flour. So you've got your bag of flour. And as you go through your childhood, maybe you're given the butter that you'll need. And as you go along, you'll get the eggs in your teenage years. And each period of your life will give you a new ingredient to add to this recipe. But perhaps your cake isn't ready yet because you don't have all the ingredients. So that's life, you know? The other question that came through this week and I found was so beautiful. Someone was asking, how do you know when you're talking to the beings in the spirit realm? They wanted something, the word was tangible, something that you can see, something that you can hear, something that you can physically. Yes. And then I tell you, they just give it to me on the spot. I know when it comes from them because I get tingles. These beautiful analogies, yes. Half the time they just drop in. I'm going to go with that because that sounds really good. But the other information that was coming through in the last couple of days from a beautiful comment online was, how do you know if you are really communicating with the spirit realm? You know, if that's a real thing or if you're making it up in your mind. And, you know, they wanted something tangible. That word kept coming up, the tangible word. They wanted, this is my husband. If it's not in the physical realm that he can see it, he can feel it, he can hear it, all his senses are taken up with this thing, to him it's not real. But to me, it's like, well, I was saying to this person, say you love someone. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's a child, your partner, your parents, pick someone in this moment. And feel in yourself, feel in your heart, the love that you have for this person. Feel it now. Yes. Tangible. So feel that love. Now, can you make that tangible? Can you hold that love in your hand and give it to that person, that they can see the love that you have for them? How do they know that you love them? How can they know that you love them? The spirit realm is exactly the same. It's there, it exists. But it's not something, just like our love, that you can put on a plate and serve it up and go, here, this is my love for you. This is how much I love you. And the other person can see it and go, wow, you really do love me. It doesn't work that way. Love is an energy that you can, when you tune in to the energetic being that you are, when you start to tune into energy, you can feel the energy of love in others. You can feel it, the shift inside you, the expansion. For me, it's expansion when I feel the love of others, the love my daughter has for me, the love my husband has for me. And sometimes that love can be just a smile, just the way they look at you in that moment. But these are not things, physical things that I can say, oh, look, this is the love my husband has for me. Look at it. Isn't it amazing? Physically, I can hold it in my hands and show you. This is his love. Same with my daughter. This is her love. Look, see? I can hold it in my hands. I can show you. It's not tangible, but I know it's there. I know it exists. I know it's real. I can feel it. I can feel it with how my daughter looks at me. I can feel it when she hugs me. That would be strange. Yes, when they're being... Yeah, I'm thinking when they're being a pain, you can always smack them with the love, you know? You can smack them across the head with it. Here's my love for you. Smack. Stop being so silly. Stop being such a pain. So, you know, the spirit realm is the same. But just as we have ways that we can feel into, yes, that person loves me, I can feel it energetically, yes, you know, or You just know within yourself when someone loves you and when they don't. You just know, right? You feel it within yourself. It's a feeling in your energy. You can feel it. The same happens with the spirit realm, with these beautiful spirit guides, with these beings on the other side. For me, the magic that happened that I wasn't expecting, because they were asking me if I could see them. And I was saying yes, but I never, they were asking, well, how can you ask them to show up, to be visible so that I can see them, right? And I was saying to them, but I never asked them to do that. It wasn't, I didn't know that I could do that. It just happened as a sequence of events, you know, and all I can put it down to was I started working through forgiveness, and that's why I've created these courses in a particular order. What I've been guided to do are the steps that I took to get to where I am here now. The first step was forgiveness, was being able to forgive and let go. Because when I did that, there was a shift in my energy already. There was a space that was created because that was no longer in my system. It was gone. It was out. I forgave. I don't have to hold on to it anymore. Good. It's yours. Goodbye. Take it. Take it. Whatever you did, that's on you. That's not mine, right? I give it back to you. There, take it, right? So this was forgiveness. That was the first step. And then it was working through, I don't like using the word working because people think, oh, hard work, you know, like as in work, as in office work or whatever it is that you do. But no, it's going through the process. That's just the word for it, going through the process. Then I went through the 3 triggers, the anger, the fear, and the pain. And you look at, well, why are these here? Why are they here? They're not here for no reason. I don't get angry for no reason. There's a reason this anger's here. And so I went through that process. And that was the next step. And then once you do that, again, there's another release. Because you find, oh, I no longer have to get angry anymore. Or not as much as. You'll find that if before it was 60%, now you're down to 40% of getting angry. And as you keep sitting with your anger and asking for the information, then you're down to 30% anger. And then you're down to 20% anger. And it doesn't disappear completely because we're still human. We're still meant to be feeling all these things. So the anger's not going to disappear completely and all of a sudden you're totally zen and you never get angry again. No, it's still there because as humans, we're meant to feel all these things. The fear, the same. But there's less of it in your system. There's more space now. And as you create more space and more space, you let go of all this stuff that you don't need anymore. And there's more space. Think of it as a house. Okay, say at the moment you have a house. And if it's anything like the room I'm sitting in that's full of my daughter's toys, there's no room in here at all. Every single spot in this room has been taken up with something. It's filled with something. So imagine a room in your house and it's completely cluttered. Completely. There's not one spot that doesn't have something in it. A piece of furniture, something. And then say one day, okay, you know what? I'm tired of living like this. I don't want to be cluttered anymore. And you start clearing out that room. So just pick one room that you know at home's really cluttered. If you have one. Some people don't. Most people do. So, and you start clearing out. And the first day you decide, oh, you know what? That box that's been sitting in that corner for so long, you go through it. Oh, I don't need that stuff. I don't use any of that anymore. I'm going to donate that. Send it up to Vinnie's, St. Vincent's that we have here, the secondhand shops. And all of a sudden now in that corner you have this little empty space. It's a small space, but it's a space. And then you look at what's next to that and there'll be a table there. When was the last time I used that table? I can't remember. I don't use it for anything. It's just holding stuff. There's a box on top of the table. When you look in that box, can't remember the last time I used any of that. It's been years. I don't need any of that anymore. You didn't even remember it was there because it's just been sitting there. You take that to Vinnie's, up to the secondhand shop. You take the table and all of a sudden now you look in that corner. There's heaps more space. But the room's still pretty cluttered. That was the forgiveness. That was the anger. But there's space now. And the more you go through those boxes that are cluttering or the furniture that is cluttering your room, And you realize, you know what? I don't use that anymore. I don't need it anymore. It's not serving me. And you get rid of it, off to the secondhand shop, off it goes. Then there's space. Now there's more space. And what happens when there's space? Something new can come in. And this is what happened to me. Without realizing it, I had cleared this room, which was me, of all this stuff that was stuck in there. From my childhood, from my teenage years, from all of it. Wait, I started clearing it. Next thing I knew, there was all this space. And with that space came all of this that was possible. One day I just started having this vision with Archangel Michael for a few weeks. And then I thought, I'm just imagining it. It's not real. You start to think to yourself, you talk yourself out of it. It's not real. It can't be. Angels don't talk to humans, I was never taught this. How can it be? But what happens is they will go out of their way. If it's your path, if you are meant to be talking to them, they will go out of their way to show you, yes, I'm real. You're not imagining it. Well, you can be imagining it, but I'm also real, was what he was trying to tell me. And so the first vision I had with him was through a meditation, and that's why I love doing meditations. It was through a meditation in this course that I was doing. And we were asked, again, this is why I love asking for symbols. We asked our archangel for a symbol. And Michael gave me the pentagram. And I remember thinking it was supposed to be a symbol of love. And I'm thinking, well, why am I getting this? I thought it had to do with witchcraft. And like when I saw it, it's all this, conditioning of what I thought the symbol was about. But then I went online to look at it. And that symbol was actually a symbol of faith. The Greeks were using it, in ancient Greece or something. And I thought, oh, it's not what I thought it was. So then I thought, but the meditation was supposed to be for love. I'm like, what's this got to do with love? And then when I finally had the moment where that symbol appeared in a way that I just couldn't deny that it was real, I thought to myself, he chose that symbol because to me, if I would have picked a symbol of love, I would have picked a love heart. And then I would have seen love hearts everywhere. And I would have brushed it off as, oh yeah, he's still not real. I'm just making it up in my head because love heart is what I would have chosen. I never would have chosen this symbol, the pentagram. And then one day I came home and they were all over the backyard. My husband had spent that night teaching my daughter how to draw them in the backyard. They were all over the concrete at the back. There were over 12 of them. And I came home and thought, what? This was weeks later. And I had stopped talking to Michael because I thought I was imagining it. And I'm like, it's not a symbol of love. We were having this argument backwards and forwards. And I was saying to him, are you sure? Because this is not a symbol of love. What have you given me? It didn't make sense. Until I understood that, oh, okay, now when I see them all over the backyard and the back of my house and everywhere there, I can't deny it because it's not a symbol I would have picked, And so when I saw them, I realized, oh, hang on, maybe you are real. It was the first moment where I thought, maybe. It wasn't a yes, definite yes yet. But there was, again, an opening, that maybe. And then the following year, a year later, I kept hearing this voice saying the word healing. And I thought, and it just kept bugging me, this healing. And I thought, okay, I'll look into it. And the next thing, I'm on Facebook and there was something for sound healing. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll look into that. So I did that beautiful course. And I got to the end of it and I got all these sound bowls and everything here, everywhere. I got all sorts of stuff. And I loved that course, but I kept hearing the word healing. And I thought, oh, that's not it. This voice isn't going to stop bugging me until I get to whatever it is they're trying to lead me to. And so I thought, okay, what else is there? And at that time, I was talking to my beautiful friend in New Zealand, and she mentioned something about Reiki. I'd never heard anything about it before. And I thought, okay, I'll give that a go. It just, for some reason, Reiki stuck in my head. And that's what I mean. When things stick in your head, they're there for a reason. It's part of your path. So I did Reiki. And as I was doing it, one of the first things that we're taught, well, I had already done a Reiki course online, a free one, and they didn't teach this method. I only learnt this method one time out of the 3 Reiki courses I did, because I did 2 online, and then I fell in love with the third one, which was with this beautiful teacher in Melbourne, here in Australia. And she teaches this beautiful hand energy exercise before you start. And it was there. As soon as I did, because again, like when I had that conversation with Archangel Michael, I wasn't expecting anything. I don't know what to expect. And so I'm doing this hand energy exercise and I'm thinking, okay, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't expecting anything. I was going to just go like that and yeah, right, okay. But as soon as I did it, I felt the energy between my hands. And I cried for about half an hour. I don't know, I just sat there crying and crying and crying, going, oh my God, this energy is real. This energy is real. Oh my God. I mean, I can feel it now, you know, and the tingles, just remembering that day. And from there, I got obsessed with it. Like I would do it 2-3 times a day just to feel the energy. And in that moment that I'd feel the energy, I'd be like, oh God, you're real. You know, I just somehow intuitively knew that God was real because he was this energy that I was feeling in my hands, between my hands. I could feel it. It's like it's hard to explain until you actually feel it. But it's very gentle and it's like a pushing and pulling, but you can feel it. It's really gorgeous. And that was the moment for me. That was the moment that made it real. But after that, even though for me that was the moment that I was in, I'm like, God exists. Here's the energy. I can feel it. I was gifted that moment, you know. And again, I feel like all of that was possible because there was now this space within me for all of this to come in. I had created the space by getting rid of all that lower density, the lower vibrations, you know. And so from there was that with Melissa, the lady, our teacher that does the Reiki, you have to do 30 self-healings, which I went way past the 30 because I was obsessed with doing the hand energy exercise. So I was doing that twice a day. So I ended up doing like 100 of those by the time we had to do the 30. And then we had to do 30 healings on others. And distance healings was one of them. And so I had, bless her heart, my mother-in-law, I was doing the one-on-ones in person with her. I was practicing with her. But even she was saying that she could feel the energy coming off my hands. She could feel the heat on her body, even though I wasn't touching her. Because the reason I loved this method so much was because you don't have to touch the person. All the other ones were hands-on. And I'm like, I don't want to be touching people. I just didn't feel like that was right for me. Maybe others, yes, they want to put their hands on people and, you know, I didn't want to do that. I didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right to me. But the moment I felt the energy between my hands, and then I started doing the one-on-ones with my mother-in-law, and she would say, I can feel the heat coming off your hands. And I couldn't feel cold or hot coming off my hands, but I could feel the energy. And when I was with her and my hand was above her chakras, doing like that, as we're going through each separate chakra, I could feel the energy getting stronger than just between my 2 hands. And so I knew it was there. I knew something was happening. You know, we were connecting. But the magic for me was still to come because I hadn't started doing the distance healings yet. And this is where these beautiful beings, if you allow them, just open up so much for you. When I started doing the distance healings, I would get all these visions. And some of them I'd be like, oh, what does that even mean? You know, but I never said anything. I just thought, no, I'm going to keep this to myself because I don't want to interfere with whatever came through for them. And then what would happen is so many times the other person receiving the healing would come back, or session, because I realized later it's not really healing. The session, for me, it's about receiving information, you know, on what is trapped, on what needs work, on all these things, you know, what needs healing within you. But only you can do the healing. You see, this is where I learned that only you can do the healing. I can't do it for you from where I am. Even if I have you right in front of me. If you can't see yourself healed, I can't heal you. So what started to happen was the people receiving these healings, because they're called Reiki healings. If you want to call them that, we'll call it that just for the purpose of this video. What would happen is they would send back messages of what they saw, of what they heard, of things that were happening with them. And then I would be sitting there going, no way. You know, I'd be like, no way, no way that happened, because that's exactly what I saw, you know. And the more I did them, the more that started to happen. The other person would be telling me this is what they saw or this is what happened. And I'd be like, no, I just saw that too, you know. And then the more I did them, the more I realized, hang on, you guys are actually real. Because these other people I was working with weren't psychics. Like, they couldn't see what I was seeing. They were just other Reiki students like I was. We were just practicing on each other through the community, you know, that Melissa had created. And so, you know, the first one for me was when I called in my team of angels. Originally, I only had Archangel Michael would come in. So Michael would stand, they weren't even coming into my space yet. I had Archangel Michael up there. I had Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Rafail, Archangel Uriel, and just as I call them, I can see them now. And then Archangel Metatron. They were the 5 that I was comfortable with when I first started. And it's because I didn't have any association with them. Like, I didn't have any negative association, you know, because going to Catholic church for so long when I was little, there were things from there that I completely rejected. And so for a long time, poor old Mother Mary and Jesus, they couldn't come in because I was like, no, that's church stuff. I don't want anything to do with that. I had such negative, you know, just anything to do with church. I just didn't want anything to do with it, you know. So in this session with this beautiful lady in Canada, I open the session, we do the whole thing. And the next day she sends me a message and she says, I had Mother Mary in my session. I called her in and she says, and I saw her there. And this lady, yeah. So I'm trying to remember. This was like 3 years ago now. So, but that was the first time. And what was significant about that was that as I was doing the session, it's in the book When Love Leaves, actually. As I was doing the session, she asked to come in. Mother Mary asked to come in. She stood there and waited for permission. And I said, yes. And then what I saw was, I saw her go over to the other lady and stand at this lady's head throughout the whole session. And that was the first time Mother Mary came in. I'd never seen her before because I'd never invited her in before. But she came in and I thought, oh, hang on, if you're there for a reason, because I didn't invite her in. So she said, can I come in? And I said, yes. And then I saw her go over there. And then the following week when I had this lady, and then this lady tells me the next day that she had Mother Mary in the session. I was like, no way. No way. I said to her, because I never have Mother Mary in my sessions. I said, and I saw her come in and ask if she could come in. And I saw her go to you. She said, yes, because I invited her in. I asked her to be there for me. And I thought, oh, wow. You know, that was the first time. The following week, I see Mother Mary and it's all good. Yeah, okay. 4 weeks in, after we've had Mother Mary for about a few weeks, there's Jesus. And I'd never asked Jesus to come in before. And he asked permission to come in. So I said, okay. And again, he went over to this lady. So she then had Mother Mary at her head and Jesus at her feet as we're doing the session. But the next day, this lady tells me, this lady in Canada, that Jesus was at her session, that she could see him because she had invited him in. She had asked him to come in. And I was sitting there going, no way. Because I said to her, I saw him asking for permission to come in. And I said, yes. And so from there were dozens and dozens of moments like that, of people coming the next day or that afternoon or whatever, telling me this is what I saw, this is what I heard, this was the message I was given. And then I was like, oh, because I received the same. And I would only confirm, but I was never the one to say, oh, and this is what I saw. Because I thought I was imagining it all. You know, I was making it up in my head. And this all came through just from listening to that voice that kept saying, healing, healing. I'm like, okay. And then once I started with the Reiki and I started doing the Reiki distance and all of that started to unfold, I stopped hearing that word. So, you know, for me, it's just been magical ever since, you know. I just can't even describe it, being with them. Today, I was with this lady, this elderly lady. I take care of them, you know, during the mornings. And I'm sitting there and she'd fallen asleep. And I thought, oh, I got time. So I sat there next to her and I called them in, you know, and every time I call them in, I go into this state, this blissful state that if I did them before I came out here, I'd be like, I don't think I'd be able to talk because I'm so blissed out, you know, when I'm in their presence. And this is the thing, you can feel them when you call them in, when you ask them to be with you, you can feel them, you know, more than see them. That's what I was trying to explain to this beautiful person on YouTube yesterday on the comments. It's not about seeing, it's about the energy they bring in when you do see them, when they do come in. So it's just incredible being in their presence, any of them, any. Some, I guess for me, some more than others. Jesus has a very particular presence when he comes in. It's quite strong. Different to Michael. Michael's a softer energy for me. For me, for others may be different. Same as Mother Mary. There's something really beautiful about her presence when she comes in. She's just so soft, so gentle. You know, it's really beautiful being in her presence. So loving. So, you know, these are the beautiful things that are possible in this lifetime. I never imagined, you know, never imagined. I thought I'd be helping people, but not. I never knew I'd be here, you know, talking about angels and having these interactions with them and getting these downloads now that are just, okay, just talk through me. I'll just sit here and just say what you want to say. Because I know the shifts that happen when they do their downloads. You know, when I've written the books and I sit there, when I get to the end of each book, it's like, wow, it's like this huge expansion again. You just keep expanding and expanding and expanding. It's just so beautiful. And that's what I want to get to with everybody. The expansion phase. You know, I don't want to be stuck here talking about my mum and all that trauma forever because I've already done all that. I've done that process. But I share all that so that people can find where they're at. And if they're there, still caught in that trauma, oh, okay, there's a way. There's a way to get through it. I don't have to be stuck in that forever. Because I thought I was going to be stuck in that forever. And I thought, oh my God, if this is life, this is just not living. If this is it, I'm going to be angry at my mum forever. You know, to me, that wasn't living. It's like I'm half living. Because I knew, as a little one, I always knew that I was here to love. To expand with this love. Not be stuck in this anger, this resentment. You know, this, I can't forgive you for what you did. But that served my human experience, you know. So, I don't know, you guys, what, I'm trying to think what meditation you guys, do you feel like doing a meditation today or you think this is enough? What's come through today? It's like explosive. I don't know. I think it's just been all the courses I've been putting together and, you know, going through them and listening to them, and you expand even more because there's always new information that comes through once you get through the old stuff. There's always new stuff that shows you a different way of looking at things that you couldn't see before. You know, one of the beautiful things that came out in, now I can't remember what video, but there was a video I was creating, and it's about you're standing at the bottom of a mountain. I wouldn't be ready at the moment. For which part? For which part? For the spirit guides, or I'm curious about the won't be ready at the moment. Because I don't know as you're ready. It just, for me, it just happened. It's not that the funny thing is I wasn't even looking for it. Oh, meditation. No, it's all right. You're probably too clogged up. Probably too clogged up. But the other beautiful, analogy they gave me was, okay, imagine that you're standing at the bottom of a mountain and all you can see is the base of this mountain, right? You're facing the mountain and that's all you can see. It looks huge. There's nothing from there to there. You can't see anything else but this mountain, right? And this is the level of unforgiveness, of anger, of fear, of this is the bottom of the mountain when we're in the lower vibrations. Then you start to climb that mountain and you start to resolve the anger and the fear. You start healing it, whatever other word you want to use, resolve, heal, work through, whatever. It's all the same thing. It's releasing it from your system. And you get halfway up the mountain and then you turn around. Imagine how much more you can see from the middle of the mountain. You have a different view. And then you keep resolving, you keep healing, you keep healing, you keep climbing that mountain until you get to the top. Imagine from the top of the mountain all the beautiful things that you can see now that you're at the top. The top of the mountain, I would say, is complete enlightenment. And I know I'm not here for that because I enjoy my human experience too much for that. I don't want to let go of this. Eating the chocolate and having a coffee and having ice cream and pizza and all the fun stuff we get to do as humans. I'm still enjoying this experience. So for me, I'm kind of halfway up the mountain. I'm good with that. I'm happy with that. Because there is so much more to see from up here anyway. But with each step, as you climb and you release things from your system, you get to see more. See, in one of the courses that I did, I was taught that it's a spiral up. As we ascend, as we awaken, each level of there's different levels of awakening. Like it never ends. So each level of awakening, it doesn't mean that you no longer look at those events. You don't need to because, you're too enlightened for that now. No, it's that now that you're on a different level of the spiral, you're a little bit higher up, like on that mountain, you're a little bit higher up on that mountain. You see things that you couldn't see before. That's the beauty of it. You're looking at those events and you start to see things you couldn't see before. An example for me was after my daughter was born, I went back to look at all my baby photos. I have them up there, so I'm pointing up there. I was going through this photo album and I was looking at the clothes I was wearing. I was looking at my hair that was so neatly brushed. I was looking at the beautiful shoes I was wearing. And in that moment that I'm looking at these photos after my daughter was born, and these baby photos were of me, I'm thinking a parent that doesn't care, doesn't go to all that effort to make sure that their child looks so beautiful. They're so beautifully dressed. They have beautiful shoes. Their hair's brushed. It's, I had it tied up. She'd gone to all that effort to make me look beautiful. And we were just out. We were at a park or doing something, but it was in that moment, because my heart had already expanded with the birth of my daughter. And I began to understand, how time-consuming it is to have a baby. I began to understand. No wonder my mum's time was all taken up with my sister, because babies demand a lot of time. And my dad was working all the time. He was a bricklayer, so he'd leave home at 5 a.m. and he'd come back at night at 6 o'clock, and he was tired. The last thing he would want to be doing is taking care of a baby after such a long day of work. So it was on my mum to do everything, and it wasn't until I had my daughter that I understood, I realized all of that babies do take up a lot of time. They are very time consuming. I got to see something that I couldn't see before because my heart had expanded. with the birth of my daughter. See, different experiences as well will show you different perspectives of things that you couldn't see before. You needed to have that experience. So that's life. And it's so beautiful. You know, when you can see it for what it is and that we chose it all, it's so beautiful. You know? So do you guys have any questions for today or anything you want to share or talk about? That's mainly what's been coming up for me this week. It's not much. That was a lot actually. It came through. I wasn't expecting so much, but yeah, it is a bit. So I think I'll leave it at that for today, unless there are any questions or anything you want to talk about more. But that was a lot that's come through. One of the things towards the end, one of the things I always remember was when my daughter was little, and I found myself, once she started walking and talking, so after the age of 2, 3, up to the age of 4, I would find myself yelling at her. They don't do things just because, that's right. I would find myself yelling at her until one day I looked at why am I yelling at her? And I traced it back to that morning when I had received a phone call from the bank to say that I was behind with the mortgage and I didn't have the money to pay for the mortgage. And this was an ongoing pattern in my adult life, just being terrible at managing money, right? That was one of my human experiences, the stress that brings. But that was part of my experience. It was something that I was meant to go through. And in that morning, I got that. And then I find myself at lunchtime yelling at my little one. And she was 4. And then I traced it back to that I was angry because I couldn't pay that. I didn't know how to manage that. I'd never learnt. I was never taught. And in that moment that I linked the two things, that this is why I'm yelling at her, I just had this flashback. Back to when I was young and my mother was yelling at me. And in that moment, I'm putting myself in her place and I'm thinking, here they are, my parents in Australia. They didn't know how to speak English at all when they got here. They didn't know English. They just came as immigrants to this country. And she didn't know how to manage money. So she was constantly putting everything on the credit card and always behind as well. Because I remember them always with I think it was called bank card in those back in those days or something. But I remember her sticking everything on the credit card because that was a new thing at the time. It was like, yeah, you can put everything on credit, you know. And I remember her yelling at me in this one particular moment. And in that moment, I just put myself in her place. Yeah. And just remember thinking, how frustrated must she have been? Not knowing the language, not knowing how to manage money, you know. That she must have been in the same situation, being behind with bills, not being able to pay for something. And there I am, receiving the other side of it, you know, the other side of her frustration. But the beauty of it was that I got to see both sides of the experience. And that's why sometimes we need to go through, you know, when you find yourself saying, oh, I grew up to be my mother, I swore I would never do that, and now I find myself doing that. I think that's why we do that. Because we need to see the other side of the experience. We only experienced one side, the receiving of it. Oh, yes, it is. It's really high. Cross T's and dot I's. Cost of fuel. It is high here. I don't know why it's so high. Anyway, there must be a reason. Maybe we can afford it. Who knows? Who knows with us Aussies? But yeah, you know, again, being able to see another side of things. Seeing things from a different angle, different perspective. Affect moods. Yes. All right, my beautiful beings. I'm off to have lunch now. Yeah, I feel like there's enough information, I think, that's come through that we don't need a meditation for today. There's enough there. And I feel like there was a surge of energy come through in the middle when I was talking about the angels. There was an energy shift already happened. You could feel, I could feel it. I could feel expansive. You're off to bed. You need the rest, Victor. You need to rest. Both of you. Get better. Take care of yourselves. All right. Bye for now. I love you guys. Thank you for coming. I know you're not feeling well, so I really appreciate that you're here to be together and have this beautiful moment, receive this beautiful download, and we can all expand together. Thank you for being here. Bye, guys. Go get some rest. I love you guys. Bye.